Okay. Energy.
Energy.
Okay, welcome to the second installment of Bantu Born and Western Raised. I am super excited for this episode because we have our very first guest. Today's episode is titled The African Retirement Plan, and we're going to talk about all things money, all things generational wealth. We're talking the hustle. We're talking about being money smart, and you know what? I think this is gonna be a good one. But as usual, I'm not alone.
Hey,
Hi, Masuzio.
Oh, hi. I'm welcome back. I'm glad to be back for our second episode. Hopefully this one will go well. But I'm super excited about everything.
So the last one didn't?
Well,
so the last episode didn't go well.
Lynn, It went decently, and I like that. But I'll edit this one a little bit more.
You know what? I'm done with you.
Okay,
and hello to our lovely guest.
Hi guys, I am Zamo Mbele and I am a guest at this podcast. And
yeah.
Basically.
So the reason that we've invited Zamo on this episode today is because she has her own YouTube channel that addresses things like, investment and money matters and stuff like that. But like we said, this podcast stands to kind of throw a spotlight on Southern Africa and our cultures and where we're from and so on and so forth. So Zamo, for a couple of minutes, I want you to just vibe your tribe. I want you to tell us where you're from, what you're about, and just rep your vibe, rep your tribe.
Okay, well, I'm Zamo Mbele. I actually have three names. It's Fezile Zimisele Zamo Mbele because everybody wanted to name me. I am a Zulu girl. I'm a Zulu girl born Kwaxez. I don't know if people know that place, but it's north of KZN.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very famous. It's next to Ulundi, Mahlabathini. Most people know Mahlabathini. So I was born there, stayed there for a couple of years, came to Durban when I was doing grade 8. And I've been a Durban girl since then. Personally, let's see. I think, I'm Zulu, but you know how it is, guys. You're Zulu, but
we're all mixed.
There's always a but in there.
Sometimes,
There's always a mix going on in there.
Yeah,
and
there's always a mix going on. Yeah. It's like you're Zulu, but you don't fully know where you come from. But you know the basics, but you don't know the in-depth.
Yeah, I feel.
Yeah.
So this is really great because on this episode we have Zambia, we have Botswana, and we have South Africa represented, and this is exactly what I wanted this podcast to be. I want Southern Africa, the truest form of Southern Africa, to be represented on here. So thank you so much, Zamo, for being with us. This is gonna be so great, and I love your energy. It's coming all the way across.
Can you feel it? Can you guys feel it?
Oh yeah,
I can feel it. Okay, so Zamo, where are you recording from?
Oh, I'm in Durban. I'm in Durban, Melbourne, Queensborough.
Oh, okay, fine. So she's recording in Durban, I'm in Cape Town, and Masuzio's all the way in Alabama. So we've got a good spread going over here.
Yeah, very good spread.
Yeah, so getting into the topic, the African retirement plan. This is something I've been talking to people about it. I've been asking people about it, how were you raised to view money? Growing up, what did you see as the hustle? What did you see as the thing that could set you up financially? And I'm so interested to know, from you guys, just growing up and what did you see in terms of people living that whole mama, I've made it life?
When I was growing up, money was, guys, it was a touchy. When you ask your mom for money, they always didn't have it, all the time.
Yeah.
It was always a sense of, no, I don't have it. Or if somebody would give you money, let's say a relative came over, a grand or something.
Yeah.
And they gave you money, your mom would take it, and then when you want it back, they'd be like, hey, well, what do you think about bread with? What are you talking about? You want your money back? There ain't no money to give you, man. So from there, I realized that, okay, cool. Basically, there is no money in life. That's what I was
Yeah.
brought up thinking. There is no money in life, and you have to work extra hard to get money. And when you have money, you should hold on to it for dear life, because
Oh,
it's
wow.
rough. That's
Wow.
how I viewed money growing up.
I feel
But
that.
then that pushed me to be a hustler, because I started selling sweets at a very young age to get that pocket money, because I didn't have pocket money. We used to carry lunchbox because mom said no,
Yeah.
you can
I
just
feel.
get the bread from home.
I feel.
So that's how I viewed money. But it changed over the years. I got educated, and I realized it's not all that bad. It's not as mom made it to be and stuff.
Okay. And what about you, Masuzio? Like, what was your view with money growing up?
Well, personally, the way I see it is that, well, in terms of like money growing up, the only people who had money are the parents. I kind of feel how I kind of feel how Zamo is feeling about it, because I also used to pack lunch all the way to school. It used to be on a rare occasion that my parents actually gave me money to take to go get lunch at school. It's something strange has happened at the house, whereby either that my mom wasn't around or something like that, whereby she couldn't help me out packing lunch in the early morning or something like that. That's the only time I would ever get cash to actually take home to school. So like all the time I would have my lunch box and then just carry that to school, and like that was it. And like access to money only like came up when probably when I think this was the strangest thing that had ever happened. This is what that could have ever happened, and I think this is why I feel like my parents actually kind of gave me a little bit of leg up. I think it was when I was like 14 or 15, somewhere there. I actually asked my dad for an allowance. So yeah, white boy things. I did ask for an allowance. And fair enough.
They give you.
They gave it to me. So
Wow.
I know. Like my parents actually gave me an allowance, so like I did have a chance to like handle my own money and be like, okay, fine, this is what I want to do with it, and this want to commit to it. So like the things like I was always into tech growing up, so like I would save my allowance and then like buy a hard drive or something like that, something the way I could use for my computer or things like that. So it kind of gave me that early on idea of, okay, fine, if you have money and you needed to do something, you should also be able to save up and make sure you got your things. And every time it was kind of a thing whereby I had to go and ask for the allowance. It wasn't automatic that it came down. So if you're serious about your life, you had to go and get that hustle. So yeah.
So like I was saying, like I don't know. For me, I think the experience was different because at home I'm the last born.
Oh.
So, oh gosh, the judgment.
The bosses of the house.
So I had my parents, and you know, growing up, you see them, and my parents were very like money smart, and they were making moves that I probably didn't understand back then. But then with my siblings, I see it was passed down. You know, they tried to be so responsible, and they tried to kind of make all the right moves. And you know, you always have to have like policies in place, and you always have to make sure your bills is paid, and you owe nobody nothing and stuff like that. But as a kid, like I remember, like my dad would give us money, like to go to school. Like you give like a little 5 pula or something like that. And then I remember, like if I packed the lunch that day, I'd probably save my money. So me and my sister, we'd save up our money, and then like we go buy toys and stuff like that. I remember this one time I bought myself like a little telephone that like lit up and stuff like that. Like I used to buy my own toys, and I remember this one time I was so proud of myself. So I go to my dad and I'm like, I've saved all this money. You know what that man did? He took my money.
Oh no!
And then the following week, he proceeds to give me back that money every day as I'm going back to school.
Oh!
Like he got me good. So I go back there and I'm like, okay, give me my money. And he's like, what you think you've been using? No. So he got me good. And I don't know, like living with my sister, she always, like me and her, we grew up the closest. So she always encouraged me to just be smart with money, save for yourself. You don't always have to ask for everything from mom and dad. Like figure it out, you know, try to be on that hustle thing. And to this day, that's still her. She still has that hustler's mentality. Me, on the other hand, not so much.
It makes sense. The last ones. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
guys are
I hear
taken
this.
care of.
I hear this all the time. Like being a last born, like things are not so hard. Like we're gonna talk about issues like black tax and building generational wealth and stuff like that. And honestly speaking, as the last born, I don't feel as much pressure as probably my siblings have felt. And like this is what I was like looking back, like from where my parents started. It feels like back in the day, the things that you had to invest in were things like land, and then you had to build a home, and then you had to buy a nice car, and then you had to have the farm with the livestock, and then people in the community would look up to you as somebody who had things. Like you were big in our communities if you had livestock and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's like a thing in Africa. Like what's the situation like in South Africa, Zamo? Is that a thing?
It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. Like if you have your cows, your goats, then you're a big deal. You're a very big deal. So I think it's the same in African countries everywhere. I'm not sure though, but from where I am, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah,
definitely a thing.
Because in Botswana, Botswana is a huge beef country. So having cattle, and then you think of things like when you pay like bride price and you're paying bogadi and stuff like that.
Dude,
it's a huge thing. Like it's a sign of wealth. You can see the type of family that you're marrying into based on what they bring.
Exactly.
So it's I don't know. Is it, like what's the stand on that in Zambia, Masuzia?
I mean, definitely. I think historically, especially in for African tribes and all that, we kind of put a big lean on things like livestock and land and housing, and those are the things where we actually held our wealth in. If you're to look back, a rich man was someone who had a lot of cattle, and I mean it was also the same in Zambia. Like a rich man used to have a lot of cattle. That was the show of your wealth, right? Your ability to accrue wealth. I mean, cattle and land was the aspect of like real wealth within the community. Obviously that has changed these days, but
a lot.
Yeah, it does. It has changed a lot. Nowadays, the same way that Buhari what used to be paid with cattle. Nowadays, back in Zambia at least, you can actually go ahead and pay with if you have cash money, then that's the same thing. So it really shows you that the different change in ideals. That okay, fine. Now, what is exactly most important in terms of what's a good idea of wealth now? And I think that was the same aspect that shows up, especially in the fact that we can actually change. We've changed the currency from being just cattle to being to being actual cash hard currency now.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like back then, people really lived off the land. It was important that your crops, that your animals be like proper, like they be, they be good and be taken care of. And it was not just a sign of wealth. But I don't know. From where I'm from, they just had these. It was a neighborly vibe. People helped each other out, and they bartered these services, and they exchanged things. Your cattle are going over there to mate. We're gonna help you plow this day, and then we're gonna swap over there. I don't know. It was like a very community thing, like those things that kind of brought and knit people together also. But let's fast forward to now, right? We are the millennial generation, and do these things that were kind of a statement of wealth back then, do they still apply to us now as millennials?
So you're talking your livestock and stuff like that?
Yeah. Is it still a thing for us? Do we still put like a lot of stock into that aspect of wealth, or are we on to other things at this point?
I really think we're onto other things at this point. That's what I think. But it depends who are you and where you're from, because I've got cousins that don't live in Durban, that live in the rural parts of KZN, and they are big on livestock. Like they have cows, like they have goats and stuff in their yard, and they regard that as actually a thing. So I think it depends on where you are. But for me, I think we're on something else right now.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't. Where would I keep it? Where would I keep it?
I feel.
Yeah.
Like, what about you, Masuya? Do you think we've progressed and we've kind of just put those things on a back burner, onto new things, better things?
No, fun. Yeah. New things, yes. Better things, maybe. Like I think exactly as she said. It refers to like who you are. I mean, back in the day, it used to be the situation whereby, especially as a youth, right? Once you get to the age of like 12 or something like that, especially if you're a herder or something like that, most of the time you'd be herding for your father and things like that, and then you'd be given like a cow. You'd be given one cow, and that would be your cow. And then you take a calf. Actually, sorry, let me be correct. You'd be given a calf, and then you're supposed to like grow your own herd out of your father's herd. And then that was the way we used to pass down wealth, and that used to be the general idea. In nowadays, especially nowadays, the concept of money, especially in the cities and things like that, there's no way you're gonna keep cows around. So definitely, you have to be more mobile. But if you're a farmer and you still have access to land, I still feel like there are a lot of people who still keep a lot of that wealth in terms of livestock and things like that, if you have that access. Yeah. But then again, you also have to be at that level, because not many people have that land to be able to feed their cows. So
yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the reason why we put so much pressure on ourselves as millennials, first of all, is because of all of the social media like platforms that we have. You see the life that you want. You kind of look at the gap of where you are and where you're trying to be, and you start to exactly, and then you start to feel like that life of being rural and having livestock and having land is not for me. It doesn't fit into the image that I have, because now you have to be able to take care of your family. You have to be able to pay your black tax, still be able to afford a nice place, still be able to afford that nice Golf, GTI, whatever. I know nothing about cars, but a nice car. You have to be able to be seen all up in the clubs, be looking nice, be looking put together. And you also have to like be able to afford the occasional trip, look good, live that Insta life. And it's hard to build the generational wealth when you're so focused on building a certain image.
Yeah, don't you feel like a lot of our generation are solely focused on the image as compared to actually building true genuine wealth? The image of richness as compared to being actually wealthy afterwards.
Yeah. I completely agree, because the thing that people don't understand about wealth and finances and stuff like that is that it's a long game. It's not something that happens overnight. And unfortunately, we live in a world where everything is microwave ready, where everything is just quick, fast, as we want it, and nobody's willing to put in the work anymore. Whereas, for example, if you were a farmer, there's no way you're going to be a farmer without the patience. There's no way you're going to be a farmer without actually taking the time and putting in the effort into it. Whereas I think maybe that's the problem with where the gap is with this wealth generation and all of that. But wait, let me ask you guys a question quickly.
Okay.
Because we were just talking about this before the show. The difference between black tax and generational wealth. What are we trying to do here? Why are we making the money? Like, what is the point?
Well, in terms of like black tax, I think black tax especially is about the here and now and taking care of your family now. Whereas compared to like generational wealth, it's an investment for the future, right? When we define it, like black tax is whereby whenever there's a problem in the family, we as an extended family structure. I mean, most of our African countries have an extended family structure whereby if there's an issue, something comes up, you kind of look towards the family in order to kind of help out and make sure something help out in order to make sure something happens. I feel like one of the only one aspect where I feel like the black tax is actually kind of like somewhat of a generational wealth getter as well, is especially when you're trying to help out in terms of like getting school fees for someone, or making sure that someone has making sure someone gets the ability to go to school and things like that, because that also makes sure that that person in future can be able to provide for themselves. But most of the time, black tax is about, you know, helping out in the funeral, helping out in bad situations which costs us a lot of money. And of course, in nowadays, in modern society, in Western society, they deal with that through like insurance. Like if we're in trouble and we need a lot of money all of a sudden, you kind of have to take out an insurance policy just to make sure that thing doesn't happen to you. But back home, black tax is our kind of insurance policy to a certain extent.
This is true. This is very true. Also, I feel like black tax is, I want to say, emotional blackmail. For real though, because you know what happens. Let's say you're working at a job that is not that great, so you're just earning enough to survive for yourself. Yeah. But now the people back at home, they will expect, like they will expect things that you can't really afford to give them, but because you work and they emotional blackmail you, you will have to go. Like, I know a person who would take out a loan to help a family member and then get in debt, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a vicious cycle. Because then if you always in debt, it's difficult to build generational wealth. Yeah. So
that's true.
I think it's emotional blackmail, and I think people should just make it optional. Like, if you want to help out, you should, and you do not have to if you do not have the money. But anyway,
that's true. I completely agree with that. Like, it does feel like emotional blackmail, because me personally, I'm yet to be fully employed and be able to contribute at home. So when I can't, like, obviously being the last one, like, I'm there like, no, let me try. There's still that emotional blackmail of seeing everybody else do it, and you just sitting there like, but I can't, and I want to, but I can't. You know, there's still that like emotional kind of blackmail with it.
They say, oh, but you work, Yinda, but why won't you do this? Because you work. You working now, that's why you're behaving like this. How? I don't have. It's not here. It's not here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, and that's then. Sorry, go on, Masuzio.
Yeah, no. I told. Okay. To a certain degree, I definitely agree with you guys. But you know that's gonna sour the relationship like later on, and you know people keep grudges back home. People tend to be like, they do. That I remember when he didn't help me out with my school fees. I remember when he didn't help me out with this. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel
they do,
And this is the thing. This is what I'm saying, is that we don't talk about the pressures of money at home, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why we don't. Like, it's such a touchy subject. Like, even if we're just talking about budgets at home, the atmosphere changes. Like, it just gets awkward. So why do you think guys think that financial literacy is a non-conversation at home, in our African homes? Like, why is that a thing?
Because money's uncomfortable, man. Well, for most people, money is uncomfortable. Like, speaking about money just makes people anxious and think of all the things they need to pay for, and you're just reminding them of a reality they don't want to think about right now.
Yeah, I feel that.
So,
because have you ever seen, like, if you just borrow like money to a friend, or you borrow money from somebody, you're always kind of, every time you see them, it's like, oh shoot, like
it's awkward.
You know. So I don't know, and I'd like
awkward.
Like, I understand a little bit why it's awkward, but the problem with me is understanding that it starts with educating yourself. If you don't talk about it, if you're not talking about it with your kids and stuff like that, how are you supposed to build a better relationship with money? Like, that's what I don't understand, because the knowledge has to be passed down. Like, I know, like, for example, with my mom, like, with her, it comes up randomly in conversation. Like, I'll see something and I'll ask her about it. Oh, you doing this, how did you do this, and so forth. Or you know, like, at the end of every year, like how mothers have this stokvel thing, and they put their money together, and at the end of the year, Christmas is sorted, stuff like that. Like, it's things that I've always seen from afar, but it's never been a conversation to say you should look to your community to build up your money. You should look for, stuff like that. It's not a conversation that I have had, but it's things that I've seen. So it's really hard to build generational wealth when you have black text hanging over you.
Also, I think it's the reason that you, like what you're talking about, I think it's true, because if you don't talk about, like, if, for example, if your family doesn't know how much you make, they're just going to assume you make a lot of money and you can afford to pay so and so school fees. So if you talk about it, they'll know that you actually don't have the money to pay for somebody's school fees and you're putting yourself in debt. So I think you're right. People need to talk about it so they know where other people are standing in life.
But then also, like, as Africans, we have this thing where we try to hide our actual number, like our actual salary, because we don't want people to know. We feel like people are gonna treat us some type of way. We feel like they're gonna ask for money or they're gonna put you down for how much you earn. But instead of understand, like, we have this terrible mentality about money and being so scared to address it, talk it, spend it. It's just so hilarious. But wait, let me ask you guys something, especially Masuzio. I want your opinion on this. The gender roles of wealth building. Do you think that there is more pressure on men to build a financial legacy than there is for women? Like, within the home, do you just feel that it's up to the man to take care of everybody? Or
obvious now, of course. The thing is, like, in traditional culture, right? For you to be a man, right, you need to be able to provide. I mean, that's the traditional aspect of it. Like, every time you're thinking about it, like, I have to be the one to provide. So, like, you always feel this huge amount of pressure that you are supposed to have. Like, especially like right now, even at my own stage in life right now, I feel the pressures that, oh no, I'm supposed to have a house, I'm supposed to have a car, I'm supposed to have all these different little aspects before I even think about being able to marry a woman, right? So there is this huge amount of pressure in terms of, like, making sure that you are able to provide for your house, because, like, once you're in the situation whereby you're unable to provide for your house, you feel like you're going to be looked down upon by the community. I mean, fair enough. The thing is, unfortunately, people do lose their jobs. Things do happen, but within the community, when you're struggling, you kind of find that a lot of people will question, especially, I think the first look would be towards the man, is like, okay, what's happening? Why are you not providing for your family? Because I feel like that will be the first, where the community will look first. Be like, okay, fine, clearly that man he doesn't know how to provide, right? And therefore that's a huge problem that I think men face especially. So yeah, I think that's a major issue that does come up, especially especially as a man, especially in Africa. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I always feel so bad because, let me give an example. A lot of people that I graduated with, like the guys that I graduated with, I see the hustle they're on. I see the pressure that they're under. I see just the things, like the ones that I do have the privilege of actually sitting down and getting to know. I know the pressures that they're under, and I always feel so bad because, personally, as a woman, I understand and I want to build my own wealth. I want to have my own things before I go into a marriage and so on and so forth. But to an extent, I also understand that I want to be with a man who can take care of me. Like, that, for as much as I want to be a progressive female and be a feminist and be about that, there is still a part of me that wants to be taken care of, a part of me that wants to kind of, I don't know, hide behind my femininity a little bit,
Sure.
So I don't know, it's a fine balance. But what do you think, Zamo? Do you think it's an actual thing that there's more pressure on men than there is on women?
I think it is a thing. I think, because I fully agree with you that although you want to be successful in your own rights, you also want a man that can be able to provide and do the things that needs to be done. So I completely get it. There is more pressure on the main people.
That's true. Like, I don't know. That's just my thought, and I just always feel so bad at men feeling like they have to be flashy, they have to have a car, they have to do this in order to keep and maintain relationships. They have to look like they can provide, and I think it's just that whole mentality of caveman, damsel in distress, and it's something that's so embedded in us, and it's so hard to shake.
It is difficult to shake. It is difficult to shake.
Yeah. Because also I think it. Sorry, go on, Masuja.
No, I'm just saying, like, you know what I think is that, like, I feel like people, I mean, especially when you're in a relationship, right? Both partners, it's the financial conversation is an important conversation, and having both partners needs to come to an understanding of what exactly is happening, especially financially. And I think it's because most of the time our focus is, especially for guys, as a single guy, you need to make sure that you have a car, you need to have all these other things. But if you're in an actual proper relationship, you should have that conversation, like, okay, fine, what is really most important to us? Is it that I should drive the newest BMW, or is it that I should try and build a house, or I need to start investing in some kind of retirement fund or something like that? I think people need to have, especially it's an education system that has to happen across board for both men and women, to be like, okay, fine, it's real wealth is not about what flashy thing the guy has now, but can he make a plan for his own future, right? And what's the plan for the future for both of us? So I think that's a real aspect of, like, that's been lacking, especially in amongst millennials and in young relationships, is that they don't tend to think in forward. We don't tend to look forward in terms of, like, okay, fine, is this guy good for me in the future, or is he just like flashing a little bit of cash now? So I don't know. That's
exactly. And that's the thing, like, you need to have the fundamental conversations and kind of decide, does this girl want an Insta life, or does she really want to build with me? Does she really want to put in the work and stuff like that? But yeah. Sorry, you were saying, Zamo?
Like I was saying, is like when a guy asks you, what do you want to do in the future? I'm always thinking, does this person who's asking me about my future have like a future without me? Like, do they have their vision in place of what they want before they bring somebody else into their thing? So that's what I'm always thinking when guys ask. I'm like, no, wait, what do you take me out of the equation, and what's your thing before you bring somebody else into your thing? Like, what is it that you want in life before you
funny enough, I've actually never thought of it like that, ever. Because every time I get asked that question, for me, it's always me in the picture with this person. So
but this person has, for me, that person has to have a vision on their own without depending on somebody else, or without the future depending on the next person. And then I can come in and maybe make it brighter, but it must be
make it brighter. Yeah, because also I think also the way genders tend to respond to money, I think within the home it can also breed some toxicity. Like the way you grow, I think the way you grow up and you see the way your parents are with money, I think it has a lasting effect on you also. I think gender roles just go into every aspect of life, honestly speaking, because if you grew up in the kind of home where money was never spent, you hoarded the money, it stayed in the pocket, it was always money being saved for this and that and that and that and that. When you grow up, you can actually be resentful of money. You don't know how to actually address money situations. You don't know how to talk about it. You don't know how to save it. You don't know how to spend it. It's just always a bad combination because money is not talked about and it's a taboo type of thing in the household. So do you guys think that as a person you just have to have the discipline to adjust to the circumstance that you're in, or it also leads back to your upbringing? What do you guys think?
I think it leads back to your upbringing, but I feel like people can teach themselves to adjust. Your upbringing plays a lot. Like it plays a lot on how you view money in relationships or in life generally. But I think you can train yourself. You can train yourself to have a positive, good relationship with money when you decide to. But I think initially you're probably gonna take on what you grew up with.
Yeah. I think it probably takes a lot and a lot of discipline to kind of sit yourself down and say, no, we're gonna do things differently now.
Because I remember when I first started selling sweets, I would eat, like I would spend all my profits. I wouldn't save it. I would be like, what? Money? At last, I got money. And then I just go crazy on junk food and stuff I had no business buying, because I was just like, when is the next time this is going to happen to me? So I just go crazy. I just be a baller and just trade.
Exactly.
So it took a lot for me to be like, okay, I have money now. What do I do with it? What needs to? It took a lot for me to save, Nji. Because I was never a saver. I was just like, I'm spending it.
Yeah.
I never had it. I'm gonna spend it.
I feel that. Like, I feel like I'm one of those people who, like, if I get money, I'll hold on to it and I'll try to be responsible about it. I'll feel good about it. But the minute I spend one tebe,
It's gone.
It's done. The minute. Just a minute. And it's a really terrible habit that I've been trying to work on for years, to kind of be smart with money. And and I remember this year I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a spreadsheet and I'm gonna keep track of all the money that I spend, and every little thing I'm gonna count it. And that hasn't happened. It takes discipline.
You should do it though. You should do it. You should challenge yourself and do it.
I really do, because also, like, in researching for this podcast and everything and reading the stuff that people think and they talk about it, people are writing about it, it's really interesting. And I'm like, okay, this is not impossible. It's actually quite possible.
Not. If I could do it, I mean, anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it, exactly. Because the thing is, I feel like the relationship that you have with money, as toxic as it can be, like, you need to, like, now have a holistic approach to money. We can't just be all willy-nilly about it anymore. We can't just not talk about it anymore. And also this whole concept of in the home, where a man thinks that his only responsibility is to provide, to finance the family. That mentality needs to stop. Like that, like children don't need to be financed. They should just be raised up. They just need to be raised, and they need to, as much as you want to put money into them, you kind of need to nurture them, put love into it, teach them, pass the knowledge along, bring them along for the ride, and because the thing is, we tend to, for example, you tend to have this thing, you'll think, okay, I want to start a business. And then you look around your circle of people, you look within your circle of your family, and you're like, okay, but now I'm looking for somebody who can be like an accountant, for example. You look around and you realize, okay, nobody here is actually good with money. Nobody here has these skills. But also, what have you done to encourage the circle? What have you done to encourage the family to go into, like, the whole team has to, and you guys have to grow up together. But you know what? Sorry, go on.
Sorry. You know what the problem with that is? If you try to encourage your circle, or you try to encourage the people around you, they tend to think things are impossible, and you get discouraged, because you'd be like, oh guys, let's start this, and they'd just be like, where this? Oh, but this and that, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, they tend to be, I don't know why we like this, but we tend to think we don't deserve good things or money.
Yeah,
is what I've noticed with people around me. Not everybody, but some of the people. Like, I'd have an idea, and I'd try to, so that we all come up and be like, oh, let's do this together. Be like, what? White man's things? What? No, what?
Yes.
It can't happen. It's for white people, it's for rich people, it's for this and that. And then you end up not trying to bring people up with you, because it's hard. It's hard
to bring yourself up and pull everybody up with you at the same time. It's so difficult. And, like, it brings me to, like, there was this one word that I came across when I was doing my research. It's called financial lovemaking, which basically says that the way you respond to money is also a reflection of your interpersonal relationships. Like, as Africans, I feel like we tend to have this whole jealousy thing. It's hard to believe that somebody who came from the same place as you has made it. It's such a hard concept to wrap around your head, and there's this sense of jealousy and how could they, how did they, it's impossible. And and then you realize, that one it must be witchcraft. It's, people never want to support each other. And then we see, for example, like a very, like, huge stereotype, for example, with Indians in Botswana. Like if somebody has like a family business going on, literally it is a family business. The foundation of it, the people who work in like strategic positions, they are family. And you can tell like these people went to school, they got the training because they knew that there was a certain job, there was a certain thing they had to do for the family, and through that they've built up their own family wealth and their own generational wealth. And it's funny how we can't seem to do that. Everybody's just always off doing their own thing, and we don't want to support each other. We don't want to like or subscribe. We don't want to pass on the knowledge. Like, it's such a funny thing. It is really interesting. Like this whole stereotype of jealousy over here in Africa is insane.
It's crazy. It's really, because even this side as well, our Indian people in South Africa, they also, if it's a family business, best believe it's a family business. From the bottom up, they will all be related somehow. So it's like that for us too, yeah. But the African people, guys, it takes a lot for people to support you. It takes a lot for people.
Sorry, let me ask you a question, Zamo, because you were saying that it feels like we don't deserve the nice things. We don't deserve the money. We don't deserve to prosper. Do you think, in that sense, we get to blame it on things like colonization? We get to blame it on our oppression, that we've become just so complicit and we're just used to kind of being behind the rest of the westernized world. We're just used to being just kind of in the back, kind of the place where nothing good ever comes from. Do you think we still have that mentality?
I really do. I really, really do. I really think sometimes people really don't think they deserve. Because, I really think sometimes people don't think they deserve nice things in life. And they self-sabotage sometimes when it's not even necessary. And you're like, how? You could have if you wanted to, but you didn't. And it was all, everything was laid out for you to do, but you just, I'm not sure how the mentality of, I don't know, but I do think we're stuck in that weird inferior mentality a lot. And I do think it's because of what happened in the past.
Yeah, because even to this day, like even the way our governments kind of structure businesses, it feels like there's more of a willingness for outside investors to come in and build up and invest, and they don't, I don't know, it's like a lack of belief in their own people that we can build ourselves up.
True.
You know.
But then also
sorry, go on, Zama.
The people don't really, you know what, Masuzia was right at the beginning when he said the government doesn't say things. The government doesn't promote things like this. So people don't know, and people don't take advantage of what they don't know. Yeah.
Masuzia, what do you think about this? Or are we just using this as an excuse? Does colonization have nothing to do with it? We're just lazy? What do you think?
Okay, first of all, I don't believe anyone is lazy. The problem is, okay, fine, fair enough. They are lazy people, but if we're to put it out as like as a contrast to like the whole entire nation, of course not. The problem is we do have this kind of inferiority complex in terms of like we don't see our own investments as to the same level, or we don't see as things that are happening within our country to be at that same level. So as a result of that, we also tend to like not believe in opportunities that occur within our own in our own space and in our own environment. So we tend to not look at we tend to not look in our own environment in order to invest. What you'd find especially is like even people who have accrued wealth, right? Would tend to want to choose to invest in places like the United States, or in London, or in Australia, and places like that, because First of all, they feel like, okay, fine, there is certain amounts of sovereign risk. Like, okay, fine, maybe the government will come in and take it over, and then I won't be able to get enough money out of it, or like there won't be enough profits. But one weird thing is that you find also a lot of foreign investors also want to come into Africa and also invest there. And then you sit there and you ask yourself, like, okay, how come our own people don't invest within our own space in order to try and make ourselves better, right? So it is definitely a mentality thing. I feel that we're still kind of stuck in that era that, okay, fine, everything outside is better than everything here, and it's better for us to go out there rather than come here and work within our own space. So
yeah,
it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, especially within the African society, especially when you think about the fact that a lot of people, especially when you think about the fact that in terms of trade, right? What you find is that you find a country like Botswana. Let me. Well, not exactly Botswana, because I don't really have the figures on Botswana, but maybe a small African country, right, will have a larger trade deficit. Will have a larger trade with foreign countries as compared to trade with countries that surround it, which makes no sense. So like it means that we're not buying and selling within ourselves. Like even across countries, we don't really have any kind of, okay, fine, I can trust that something made in South Africa was going to be good, or something made in Zimbabwe, or something made in Namibia, or something made in Zambia is going to be good enough to the same level. So it's a real problem that we have. We don't have that same kind of trust in trust in belief in the systems that we have around us, right? So we'd rather look outside.
I don't know. It's quite sad because I feel like building up the wealth, it should be a community thing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no way I get to build up if the people around me don't invest in me and push me forward and advertise my stuff and, you know, all of that. And I guess it just boils down to relationships and networking and building it up and all of that. But one thing I did want to ask a lot, like this podcast mainly, was I wanted to talk about the investments that youth now have access to. Like, what do we have access to build up the wealth, to start up, you know, the come up, the hustle? Like, what do we have access to right now?
I can answer. What do we have access to? Okay, so there are a lot of this side. There are a lot of youth programs or youth fundings that are there for the youth to take advantage of, but I'm not sure if the youth people know about it. But anyway, they are there. Like, if you have a business plan, or if you have a business idea and you write a business plan, somebody's bound, if it's lucrative, somebody's bound to invest in your business. For example, I don't know if people know about, is it EPTI? DTI and EDTI, they have funding set aside for youth people to actually apply for funding to do whatever they need to do, and they fund you, and there's no strings attached when you do that.
What?
Also,
no strings attached?
No strings, but it depends on what you're doing. So for example, if you're doing manufacturing, if you want to manufacture something within the country, you write up a business plan, you write up the experience you have in that particular department. Let's say you did civil engineering in school, or you did production management, things like that. So you write up all the experiences, you write up everybody that's going to be in your team, what experience they have, and all those nice things that make the business plan more meaty and more, so that the investors could be willing to invest in it. So you go there, you apply, they review your application, and then if it's worthy, they'll call you for an interview, and then see if you actually will be dedicated into this particular thing you're trying to do. So they'll ask you maybe to put 10% of the investment from yourself, and then they'll meet you halfway. So they need to know that they're not just throwing their money into a well.
Okay.
So that's like a zero interest investment, or is like it's just what do they get a share of the company afterwards, or?
Yeah, sometimes they get a share of the company. I think it depends though. Like, it depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
If it's like going to be, if it's going to require a lot of money, they will want to share for the company to see how the company is run and things like that. But if it's like a startup, if you wanna do a startup, then I don't think they want to share for the company. They just
they'll give you a loan, or low interest loan or something like that. That makes more sense.
But EDTA is a government program.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It's a government program. It's not a bank or business kind of thing. It's like funding. They're trying to get youth people to start businesses.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Okay, because I think we have schemes like that in Botswana as well. Like the government has like SEDA, there's youth.
SEDA as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a youth thing where you every year they open up applications for youth people, but it's a different thing from SEDA. So you apply and then you get money, you get funded, and you start your business. Like the government has so many different schemes, even in agriculture. Like Botswana is such a huge believer in agriculture. They literally give you goats.
They give you goats.
They give you goats, and I don't know how many there are, but they give you goats. You just have to show them that you have a place you can keep them, and boreholes and all that kind of stuff, and they will give you the goats. There's so many different programs that people don't know about, and that's like the hustle side of it. Like if you want to set up your own business and stuff like that. Yeah. So essentially, the one thing we've heard through the years is that the 9-to-5 grind, you cannot build wealth on one stream of income. This is one thing I've heard consistently throughout, is you need multiple streams of income. And obviously that means like investing in stocks, it means like you said, starting up your own business, a side hustling. And the problem is people always want the big things. They always want the big money. And the problem is people don't understand the starting small of it and working through it and the patience and the dedication of it all. But I don't know.
You see, like, I feel like Africans, there has been a tendency towards being a salary man, right? So Africans tend to have this situation whereby, especially when you're growing up, when you're young, people tend to tell you, oh, okay, when you grow up, you get a job, you work at your job, you gain money from your job, and then that's how you're supposed to live and how you're supposed to how you gain wealth or how you gain money. But people rarely ever talk about entrepreneurship and getting encouraged, especially from a young age. I feel like the main aspect of schooling, they just tell you to, okay, fine, go ahead and then get this training in order for you to get a job. But people don't tend to they don't tend to teach you like, okay, fine, I'm going to give you skills. You can use these same skills in order to become an entrepreneur, make something of yourself, start your own business, be your own person, and get paid on your own, right? A consultant gets paid 10 times more than a person who's doing the same job at the same from the same company. So, of course, you don't have to pay for insurance and all that, but they don't have to pay for insurance for you and all that. But I think that's a real aspect of things that, like, as youth, we were not told. I feel like personally, I was not really told a lot about that when I was growing up. I was just told, like, now I'm just like, okay, fine, I'm at the stage whereby I need a job, I can't get a job, so what's next? What's the next aspect for me? So therefore, that's where coming up with your own business plan and working on things for your own self will actually come into play. So yeah, I mean, it's been a problem, especially I think in my life, that I hadn't actually had that experience, and it's great that people are encouraging it now. But I think it needs to start from an earlier age to make sure that people have those ideas and have those concepts. Like, okay, fine, now you are able to move forward. Because like, I feel like a lot of people who end up in business are tens of people who grew up when they saw their parents in business, and they're like, oh, and they'll be like, oh no, my mom or dad is in business for themselves, and for them, they never ever saw the concept of having a salary as a good thing. They're like, okay, fine, everyone gets a salary, but I can see the business, so like I can make my own money, and you get from there, you get most of your profits. Being a salary man is just working for one person. You're only selling your skills to one person, as compared to actually being a consultant and just being out there for yourself. But yeah, so I think that's a huge problem in terms of like making sure that people have that idea of like, okay, fine, where do I get my wealth from? Where do I build my wealth from? And it's not about looking only at getting a salary, but also looking at building your own business, looking at investments, like investing in other people's businesses. Those are ways of actually building good generational wealth. Because at the end of the day, because back in the day, it used to be like, okay, fine, you invest in getting land, you invest in getting a car, and those are the things. Cars are not assets. They depreciate all the time. Land appreciates, but the problem with land is that if you're not building anything on top of it, okay, fine, you can have a house, but if you're staying in that house, nothing is generated from that land. So the only interest that you get from that is from inflation. You're not really gaining much wealth unless you build, you have land, you build a bunch of apartments, and then you move people in, and then you're collecting rent. That is actually gaining wealth, and that's actually bringing something into the society. So people need to look at things that will bringing wealth into the society and bringing GDP. Either you're going to be investing in a business, starting your own business. Even if you're not of the mindset of someone who can start their own business, you can still invest in businesses and make sure that your money is still growing for you. People are always out there looking for angel investors. Of course, maybe because you don't want to trust your money to a startup. You might want something that's more concrete. That's when you go into the stock market, and then you go into those other aspects of it. So I think it's a thing that people need to start learning, that okay, fine, the way to actually grow wealth is to channel your money into things that actually develop wealth within the community, and that in that way, by using your money, not just sitting in a savings account. Well, okay, fine. So you need some money in the savings account for like a rainy day, but anything extra that you're gonna have, you should also be channeling it into investments, which are going to actually grow grow your wealth and grow the community as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Yeah, it is true.
I just feel like I grew up with I'm going to get a 9-to-5 job because that's what I got. And then as I got older, and my parents also, they were building up their money and their savings and stuff like that, obviously things changed within the home. But now where I am, I'm trying to look around and trying to see what can I do? Where is the hustle? Whereas like I grew up with the kind of siblings who, for example, if they went through my parents' stuff and they saw that this stuff is old, they would literally drag it out, put it up on hangers, like the old clothes, like the vintage stuff. My sisters would be there at the main road selling that stuff, and they would have money for the rest of the school holidays. They weren't there to play. They were able to identify opportunities and kind of work on them and build them up and stuff like that. But wait, like one thing that you did mention, Masuzio, like I've been very curious about and I know nothing about, is like stock markets. And I don't know, I just don't feel smart enough. I don't know enough. I don't know what it is. I don't know how.
Well, you don't actually have to be so smart in order to invest in a stock market these days. The nice thing about stock markets these days, they have what we call index funds, right? Basically, an index fund is a conglomeration of different stocks, which is set up by a company or something like that. So all you have to do is invest in index funds, and index funds tend to perform as good as the market itself, like as good as the market itself. So like you'll get a baseline return on investment that's almost like, because the stock market usually beats inflation. So you get a return on investment that usually beats inflation. So even though you have money in that account, you're still going to be generating wealth. And you're not just going to be stagnant with the amount of money you have. So I would suggest, especially for someone who doesn't know anything about investment and stocks and things like that, you can invest in index stocks and you can still gain wealth from that. But of course, the stock market is a game, and if you want to be more risky, you can invest in individual stocks and trust in individual companies, and that is also another aspect of another way you can gain more wealth than if you invest in index stocks, but it requires more time and more effort. So anything that will generate you more money will require more time and more effort. But if I feel like the easiest and quickest way for someone who has no idea of anything is just to invest in index stocks, which are just simple. They are a conglomeration of different stocks that if most of the time, even if a company fails within the index stock, there are still other companies that will back you up. Yeah, and we'll make sure that you still have enough. You make sure that your wealth will still be growing after that. So
okay,
yeah,
that's great.
I think he's correct though, because if you don't know much, it's always safer to just do a conglomerate of shares other than buying one. Because if something happens to that one company that you invested in, then you are doomed, because you have no other fallback. So I think he's absolutely correct.
Because I remember, Zamo, I remember like on your YouTube channel, the video that I went to, I was so interested in it because you were talking about investing, and there was this thing that you mentioned online where you could literally go and register and be able to see your stocks and stuff like that. So can you just talk more about that, especially for like people within South Africa? Like, what platforms do they have to investing and stuff like that?
Okay, so the platform is called Easy Equities. Easy Equities, it has companies from South Africa, so you have a choice. You can either invest in exchange traded funds, ETFs. You can invest in individual companies, or you can they just launched Easy Properties, but that's like a different story for a different day. You can go on that platform, research the companies you want to buy, or you can just look at index funds or your ETFs and see what they have available. So for ETFs, they have different kinds of ETFs. So you can either choose to be like you can either choose to invest in a property ETF, so that has property things inside. So your storage companies, your rented property companies, like different. It's a whole salad of property companies. You can choose to invest in that, or you can invest in technology companies. It's a whole thing. If you go on there and you just play around with the platform, you can see different kinds of things to invest in. I think it's great if you go and you check it out though yourself. And also, before you invest in whatever you want to invest in, it's very, very important that you read up on it and you educate yourself, and you don't just blindly put your money in something because I don't know why you would do that, but it's very, 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 I really would advise that you read up on it and you check if that company you are buying into gives dividends, and how often they give dividends, and how the percentage of the dividends they give of their profits, so you know what you're getting yourself into. And the history of the company as well. It's called Easy Equities. If you just play around with the platform, it's very nice. And it's very, very easy to use as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we should probably wrap it up now. I think we've been talking for quite a bit, but I think the thing that we have learned most of all is self-investment is a thing. Whether it's yourself or it's within your community, you need to be able to identify the opportunities. You need to be able to learn how to talk about money and have a positive relationship with money. Teach your kids and pass the knowledge on, and just the discipline, guys. Discipline is a whole thing that you need in dealing with money. And one of the things that I kept seeing a lot was that the discipline of dealing with money is just delayed gratification. Just give yourself the time, set a plan, work for the target. It is what it is. It's the work you put in. And also, guys, bottom line, we all have the moral responsibility to build up generational wealth. Like, there's nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save your family. There's no financial angel coming to save you. Like, that's on you. And unfortunately, it's a burden we all have to carry at some point or another. So, as for the black tax, guys, I'm undecided. I don't know, hey? I just don't know. But like try to pull each other up and encourage each other. And like, there's so many different resources, things we didn't even get to on this podcast, and I'm hoping that people will kind of respond and get back to us and let us know about different resources, platforms, teach us the money matters that we are not aware of. And I know for sure I need help. And so thank you so much, Zamo. And
thank you,
guys.
Zamo.
Go like, subscribe, follow Zamo Dele. Go show her some love, because I think she really has some good knowledge over there. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please, guys, follow us Instagram, Bantu Born Western Raised, on Twitter at BBWR _ at the end. If you have questions, if you have opinions, I don't know, you have a topic you want us to talk about it, hit us up. Gmail, it's bantuborn@gmail.com. The platform is open. We just want to hear stories about Southern Africa. We want to spread the knowledge. We want to share the knowledge. We want to learn about each other's cultures and so on and so forth.
Yes, tell us about your experiences, especially like with black tax and investments in your community and how that works out. So like everyone, just like we're going to try and put everything in the description so that people have access to all these links and have a chance to like look into all these possibilities of investment and investing in themselves and investing in their communities.
Yeah. Zamo, the last word.
No, thank you guys for having me. I learned a lot from this podcast. And thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you guys so much. This has been Lynn Masuzio and Zamo on Bantu Born Western Raised, and we're just signing off and signing out.
Also, can I just say something? I really like the name of the podcast. I really like it. It's really, really creative.
Thank you so much. Masuzio came up with it after I spent several nights.
Masuzio is great. It sounds really good, guys. And also, it describes what you guys talk about here, so it rocks.
Oh, thank you so much. See, guys, love, support. Like, subscribe, follow us, everything. We want to make money off this podcast.
I mean,
hey, we're talking about investment, right?